My name is Jenna. Mom, look at me. I'm your real daughter. In front of all the reporters who had come to interview the top scorer, my mother pushed me away. Jenna, you're such a disappointment, she said with a cold sigh, then explained to the cameras, Jenna's always been the jealous type. She's always been jealous of my daughter's good grades. After failing her college entrance exams, I can't believe she'd say something so crazy. It's my fault for not raising her better. Mia wrapped her arm around my mom's, comforting her. Ever since my aunt fell into a coma, you took me in and treated me better than your own daughter. It's her own fault for not studying. We've done more than enough for her. The neighbors who were watching all chimed in. That Jenna never studies. All she does is fool around. Of course she wouldn't do well on her tests. I'm in the same class as Jenna. She's always been jealous of her cousin. She's always talking trash about Mia behind her back. She lives off their charity and then badmouths them? What an ungrateful brat. So young and already so rotten. I heard her mom got pregnant in college and never even graduated. The looks of contempt and the accusations buried me. I tried desperately to explain, it wasn't me. Mia did all of that. I'm her real daughter. But no one, not the neighbors who'd known me my whole life, not my classmates of 3 years, not even my own mother, saw anything wrong. It was as if Mia and I had completely switched places in their minds. Seeing the triumphant look in Mia's eyes, I knew this was all her doing. I lunged forward and grabbed her by the shoulders. Mia, what did you do? Give me back my life. But my mom shoved me aside, shielding Mia. Don't you dare touch my daughter, you psycho. That was the last thing I heard before she pushed me down the stairs. The agony of tumbling down the stairs and breaking my neck was still fresh in my mind. But when I opened my eyes again, I was perfectly fine, lying in my bed. I looked at the date on my phone. I had been reborn, sent back more than 3 months to the day before our first big mock exam. I excitedly went to find my mom, but her door was ajar. I could faintly hear her talking with Mia. As soon as the college entrance exams are over, I'll help you with the body swap. Then you'll be my real daughter. Mia's voice was giddy. I already am your real mom. The one in the hospital is the idiot. In my aunt's room, my mom was affectionately hugging Mia. In the vanity mirror on the desk, their similar faces were reflected. What was terrifying was that the woman wasn't my mother at all. She was my aunt, the one who was supposed to be in a coma in the hospital. But all these years, even I hadn't noticed anything was wrong. I just accepted her as my mom. Thinking about my past life and everything Mia stole from me, I finally understood. This was the body swap. My aunt took a strange, sinister-looking black bottle from a locked drawer. Tomorrow, just get Jenna to drink this body-swapping powder, and you'll be able to temporarily steal her intelligence. Great, Mom, Mia said excitedly. Just wait, I'll ace the exam for you and get first place in the whole school. I remembered my past life. I'd bombed all 3 of my mock exams and had always thought it was just test anxiety. It turns out it was them all along. I quietly closed the door and went back to my room, pretending I knew nothing. The next day, I intentionally overslept. I was in such a rush to get to school that I didn't have time for breakfast. My aunt quickly handed me a carton of milk, specifically telling me, you can't skip breakfast. Make sure you drink this before the test. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw my aunt give Mia a meaningful look. I knew then that the body-swapping powder was in the milk. I got on the bus and pretended to study flashcards the whole way to school. When we got there, Mia saw I still hadn't touched the milk. She started getting antsy. Jenna, you should drink that. The test is about to start. I started walking toward the edge of the athletic field, my eyes scanning the area as I casually reached for the milk. I saw a stray dog in the bushes, and suddenly, my hand slipped. The carton hit the ground and burst open. White milk puddled on the concrete, and the stray immediately ran over, lapping it up. Mia's face turned whiter than the milk. Mia claimed she had a stomach ache and wanted to go home, but she already had a reputation for being a flake. And with it being the day of our big mock exam, our homeroom teacher, Ms. Lee, wasn't about to fall for it. Right after the test started, an agitated Mia suddenly went wild. She ripped up her test paper, got down on all fours, and started barking like a dog. Her crazed behavior terrified everyone. Only Ms. Lee rushed over to try and hold her down. But Mia was completely unhinged, snarling at our teacher, drool flying everywhere. I watched coldly, feeling a sense of satisfaction. If you want to take shortcuts and steal the fruits of someone else's hard work, you deserve what you get. In the end, the school had to call an ambulance to take Mia away. Only then did our class get back to the test. I calmed myself down and focused completely on the exam. In just one day, Mia became a school legend. Now everyone knew about the girl in our class who got so stressed about a test that she started acting like a dog. My desk mate, Chloe, asked me in disbelief, "Mia spends all class snacking, doing her makeup and sleeping. She's always dead last on every test. What pressure does she have? Is she afraid someone's going to steal her #1 spot from the bottom?" I gave her my best customer service smile. "So, are you feeling the pressure? Want to improve? Want some tutoring from the school's top student?" Chloe looked tempted but wary. "How much?" "I'll think about it." I clapped her on the shoulder. "Hey, don't be so crass. We're just helping each other out, you know?" Chloe caught on immediately. "What do you need my help with?" "But just so you know, I don't do anything illegal." Chloe's dad is a professional locksmith, the legit kind, registered with the police. I told her my mom was reading my diary and had locked it away. She immediately got indignant on my behalf. "It's the 21st century. Why is your mom so old-fashioned? How could she read your diary and not give it back? That's shameless." "Don't worry, I'll definitely help you with this." I brought Chloe back to my place. The house was empty, just as I'd expected. My aunt was probably at the hospital with Mia. Once Chloe saw it was really my house, she relaxed. She was a natural, a real chip off the old block. It only took her a few seconds to pick the lock on the drawer, and she did it without damaging the core. You couldn't even tell it had been opened. After I sent Chloe on her way, I quickly took out that strange black bottle from the drawer. I opened it. Inside was what looked like ordinary white powder. But this was the bizarre stuff my aunt used to steal my mom's life, and Mia used to steal mine. For a moment, I was tempted to just throw the body-swapping powder away. But then I thought of my real mom, lying in a hospital bed in a coma in my aunt's place, and I calmed down. I secretly poured out some of the powder and saved it. Luckily, the bottle was so oddly shaped that you couldn't tell how much was missing. Then I put the bottle back and returned everything to how it was. This time around, I wasn't just going to save myself. I was going to save my mom, too. I was home alone that night, and a plan started to take shape in my mind. The next day, after the last mock exam, I got home to find my aunt had brought Mia back from the hospital. As soon as I walked in the door, a slipper came flying at my head. I was ready for it and dodged. Mia screamed at me, "This is all your fault, Jenna. You're the one who made me a laughingstock." I put on an innocent face. "You're the one who started barking like a dog. I didn't make you do it. How is that my fault?" Mia's eyes were red with rage. She blurted out, "It's because you spilled the milk." My aunt, who had been hiding in the kitchen letting Mia vent, finally came out to play mediator. She cut Mia off. "Jenna, just let it go. The doctor said Mia is under a lot of stress and can't handle any more excitement." I muttered under my breath, "She fails every test. I can't imagine what stress she's under." Mia looked like she wanted to say more, but my aunt shot her a look that silenced her. That night, I was studying as usual. Around midnight, my aunt came in to check on me. Once she was sure I was asleep, she went to Mia's room. I crept out of bed to eavesdrop. I heard Mia whining, "Mom, I don't want to go to school tomorrow. Everyone's going to stare at me and treat me like a freak." My aunt soothed her. "Sweetie, just put up with it for a little while. Right now, your luck and Jenna's are linked. To successfully swap with her, you have to steal her luck first. We can't have any more screw-ups on the next mock exams or the finals." So that's how it worked. I remembered before my mom's car accident, my aunt used to visit all the time. Then my parents started fighting more and more. Eventually, my dad took a transfer and moved to another city, which made my mom even more depressed. Soon after that, my aunt had her car accident. Looking back, it's clear my aunt completely took over my mom's body back then. And the person in the car accident was my real mom, panicked and confused after being possessed. If that's the case, There's no way I'm letting you two get what you want. The next day, Mia caused a huge sensation when she went to school. People crowded around to stare at her like she was a gorilla at the zoo. The students in our class were still freaked out by what she'd done. Her desk mate, especially, was on edge, terrified she was going to have another episode. Mia told anyone who would listen that she'd overcome her psychological issues and was going to blow everyone away on the second mock exam and get first place. That just made everyone even more convinced she was crazy. Soon, the results of the first mock exam came out. I was still number 1 in the school, and Mia was still dead last. She had no choice but to endure the ridicule, but she'd often glare at me with pure hatred, like a ghost haunting my every move. I was explaining a problem to Chloe, but her eyes kept darting behind me, and she'd flinch every so often. Jenna, you really need to be careful. Your cousin Mia is certifiably insane. The way she looks at you, it's like she wants to murder you. I was completely unfazed. I just buried my head in my studies, my days packed and productive. Meanwhile, Mia continued to slack off. While everyone else was trying to squeeze every last second out of the day, she was still lazy and aimless. She had decided to bet everything on the body swap, so of course she wasn't going to waste time and energy studying to get me a good grade. With the countdown to the final exams ticking away, time slipped through my fingers like sand. Soon enough, the second mock exam was upon us. This time, my aunt wasn't taking any chances. She watched me drink the milk with the body-swapping powder before she'd let me leave for school. Seeing this, Mia's face lit up with a smile. After witnessing the powder's power last time, she'd been waiting for this moment. Just before the test, she couldn't help but gloat. Jenna, I'm feeling great today. I bet I'm going to do amazing. How about you? I frowned. I don't know. I feel a little dizzy. Mia could barely suppress a smile. She offered some fake words of comfort, and then sat up straight, waiting for the test to be handed out. It was probably the first time in her life she'd ever been this excited for an exam, eager to shut everyone up with her score. But she was doomed to be disappointed. Just like in my previous life, the familiar fog of the body swap clouded my mind. The test began. I quickly scanned the paper. Problem types I had done 1,000 times before now looked like gibberish. I could probably count the questions I knew how to answer on one hand. Meanwhile, Mia was already scribbling away confidently. After finishing the few problems I could, I twisted open my water bottle and took a sip, making sure to be a little loud about it. I'd secretly added an extra half-spoonful of salt to our porridge that morning. Mia was already thirsty, and hearing me drink, she couldn't resist opening her own bottle and taking a couple of gulps. I had secretly put the powder I'd saved into both of our water bottles that morning. Sure enough, a few moments later, my head started to clear. I picked up the test again, and the problems looked simple once more. At the same time, the once confident Mia started fidgeting and scratching her head. I rushed to answer the questions, managing to finish the last one just as the bell rang. The second I turned in my paper, Mia ran over to me. In stark contrast to my own refreshed state, she looked anxious. Jenna, is your head still dizzy? I pretended not to know what she was talking about and said cheerfully, I'm fine now. The dizziness went away after a little bit. Mia's eyes darted away. She forced a smile. Oh good. I'm glad you're okay. I was fine, of course. She was the one who wasn't. At the end of the day, Mia went home, completely dejected. My aunt sensed something was wrong and grew worried. But with me there, neither of them said anything. That night, after I'd finished studying and gone to bed, the two of them rehashed the day for ages, but couldn't figure out what went wrong. Mia asked worriedly, do you think the body swapping powder expired? My aunt sounded uncertain. It shouldn't have. How about I use a bigger dose tomorrow? The next day, under the intense scrutiny of my aunt and Mia, I drank the milk with the extra large dose of powder. The two of them finally relaxed. But I had used the same trick, putting all the remaining powder I had into both of our water bottles. It was a hot day, and Mia had already taken several big drinks before the test even started. So just a few minutes after I got my test, the powder's effects reversed again. This time, I had plenty of time and didn't have to rush like the day before. As for Mia, she was completely broken. To have her hopes built up and then crushed with so little time left. By the last exam, she just gave up. She laid her head on her desk and slept through it. The proctor reminded her a few times, but eventually just wrote her name down, exasperated. When the results for the second mock exam came out, I barely held on to my number 1 rank. Mia, meanwhile, was firmly cemented in last place. When my aunt found out, she had a meltdown too. She didn't suspect me, who would believe a story about rebirth and body swapping? She was genuinely convinced the powder had expired. She became more and more anxious. This powder was a treasure she'd stumbled upon by chance. It didn't exactly come with a customer service hotline. Mia blamed her. "It's all your fault. You were so sure I'd get first place. I told everyone. Now look at me. I'm too embarrassed to even show my face." My aunt could only suppress her own unease and comfort Mia. "It was just an accident. Look, didn't the swap work for me? Next time, I'll just add an even bigger dose. It'll be fine." But Mia refused to go to school. My aunt tried to reason with her. "Just bear with it. After the final exams, once the swap is permanent, all this embarrassing stuff will be Jenna's problem, not yours." At this, Mia's eyes lit up. She muttered, "You're right. In the end, I won't be the one who's embarrassed. Everyone will think Jenna did all this." With this realization, Mia completely let herself go. She started openly skipping class, showing up late, and leaving early. She even started dating the school bully, enjoying the feeling of being called boss's girl by his crew. Miss Lee couldn't handle her and called my aunt several times, but even she couldn't control this runaway train. Eventually, Ms. Lee gave up. Every time she saw Mia, she would just sigh. But she had no idea that in Mia's mind, everything she was doing now was a form of revenge against me. After I was possessed by her, not only would my grades plummet and I'd be labeled a psycho, but I'd also have to deal with her bully boyfriend. She was determined to leave me with a complete mess. As Mia and my aunt eagerly awaited, the final mock exam finally arrived. This time, my aunt was determined to make sure I drank a full dose of the powder. And in the past few days, I hadn't had any chance to get my hands on more of it, so I couldn't fight magic with magic. But that was fine. I was already prepared. The afternoon before the third mock exam, during the last class of the day, the police suddenly showed up at school. Apparently, someone had reported a group of students for regularly extorting money from kids at nearby schools. The total amount was enough to open a formal investigation. After looking into it, the police identified the ringleader as Mia's bully boyfriend. And since Mia had been present during the last few shakedowns, she was taken in as an accomplice. This caused an uproar among the parents from all the nearby schools. Many of them had no idea their kids were being extorted, some to the point of stealing money from home. They weren't going to stand for it. The parents swarmed the police station and the school, demanding answers. My aunt was too busy dealing with this to worry about the mock exam. She was at the police station every day, trying to get Mia out. I used this opportunity to take the third mock exam without any trouble. And while my aunt was overwhelmed, I used the same excuse with Chloe to get her to pick the lock for me one more time. Chloe looked at me, exasperated. "Seriously, you're a genius, but you can't figure out how to hide a diary?" Then she got all shy for some reason. "If you trust me, I could hold on to it for you. I swear on my life I won't peek. If I do, I hope I never grow another inch." I waved her off. "It's fine, I'm just going to burn it anyway." Ignoring her skeptical look, I quickly shooed her away. Then I swapped the body-swapping powder in the black bottle with crushed-up white sleeping pills. As for the real powder, I had a much better use for it. I'm not sure how my aunt managed it, but she eventually got Mia home. However, the rumor that Mia was an extortionist had spread all over school. The parents of my classmates were demanding she be expelled. Mia was too ashamed to go back to school anyway. My aunt started making daily trips to the school again. In the end, they didn't expel Mia, but they did suspend her, telling her to study at home and just show up for the final exams. Mia didn't seem to care at all. She just embraced her new slacker life, playing video games and binge-watching shows at home every day. She was betting everything on the body swap. After the finals, all this shame and filth would become my problem, and she would happily enjoy the honors that belonged to me. My aunt, however, was worried. My luck was getting stronger and stronger, while Mia's was hitting rock bottom. She was afraid it would affect the final body swap after the exams. But at this point, she had no other choice. Once I went off to college, I'd be much harder to control. If Mia hadn't been so unwilling to put in the hard work of studying for the exams, my aunt would have performed the permanent swap long ago. This time, my aunt was dead set on making the post-exam swap a success. And I was just as determined to succeed in my own way. Just 2 days before the final exams, my dad suddenly took leave from work and came home. The reason was my recent poor performance in class. I'd been spacing out a lot. After a talk with me, Ms. Lee concluded I was being affected by Mia. She had mentioned it to my aunt before, but my aunt had brushed it off. So this time, she called my dad. My dad had no idea about Mia's recent antics until he got that call. As the parent of a student with exams right around the corner, he couldn't just sit by. When he got home, he bluntly told my aunt to send Mia away, saying she couldn't stay here and affect my studies. Of course, my aunt refused. They had a huge fight, and in the end, my dad stormed out and took me to my grandma's house. My aunt couldn't stop him. I thought long and hard about whether to tell my dad everything. But then I remembered how he'd just treated my aunt like she was my real mom, without a hint of suspicion. I decided against it. Besides me, the one who'd been reborn, everyone else saw my aunt as my mom. If I told my dad, he'd probably just think the stress was getting to me and I was hallucinating. It was better not to create more problems and tip them off. Luckily, my dad was on the ball this time. He personally drove me to and from the exam center every day, leaving my aunt no opportunity to interfere. A few times, she tried to bring me food and drinks, but my dad's vigilance kept her at bay. Thanks to my dad, my aunt never got the chance to give me the body swapping powder. I took the exams with a clear head and finished them smoothly. The moment I walked out of the testing center after the last exam, I felt a sudden urge to cry. A lot of kids felt the same way, but none of them knew how much more I had to go through just to take those tests. But it was finally over. After the exams, I estimated my score. It was 2 points higher than in my previous life. It looked like I was a shoo-in for top scorer. I heard that although Mia took the exams, she was the first to turn in her paper for every subject, and even left a few of them completely blank. At this rate, she probably wouldn't even have a high enough score for a third-rate college. The most anxious person now was my aunt. And this was also when her luck was at its lowest. This was the moment I'd been waiting for. My dad had already taken several days off and needed to get back to work. He wanted me to go with him for a while before college started, just to relax. I let this news slip to my aunt. As expected, she was frantic. She called me and tried to play the sympathy card. "Jenna, I know I haven't been a good mother to you. I've neglected you, and I'm sorry. I don't mind if you want to go with your dad for a while, but I haven't seen you in so long. Before you go, could you come see me?" I smiled. "Of course. How about tomorrow afternoon? I'm not mad at you, Mom. I'll even buy you your favorite boba, okay?" Hearing me agree, my aunt's voice was full of excitement. Yes, of course. My daughter is so thoughtful. Mom will make a big dinner with all your favorite dishes. You have to come." I promised her I would. "Don't worry, I'll be there." The next day, I said I had plans with a friend and left early in the morning. I went to the hospital address I had looked up. The name on the hospital bed read Sharon Wu. That was my aunt's name. But the woman lying in the bed was my real mother. The sleeping woman's face was pale and serene. She looked about 50% like my aunt, but her features were stronger, more defined. She looked a lot like me. I was only in elementary school when my mom had the car accident. All these years had passed. Even I had once mistaken my aunt for her, resenting her for loving my cousin more than me. But my real mom had been lying here alone in this bed for years, forgotten by everyone. I touched her warm face and whispered in her ear, "Mom, don't be scared. Your daughter is here to save you." I don't know if she heard me, but 2 tears trickled from her closed eyes. I wiped them away, took out the body swapping powder, dissolved it in water, and put it directly into her feeding tube. This was it. Everything hinged on this moment. After leaving the hospital, I went to the house as promised. My aunt was so excited to see me, her face was flushed. She had indeed cooked a huge meal. And there, on the table, was a familiar glass of milk. I looked around. Where's Mia? Isn't she eating? My aunt looked away uncomfortably. Mia didn't do well on her exams, she said with a smile. She's still throwing a tantrum and won't eat. Let's not worry about her. On my way to wash my hands, I opened Mia's door. She was fast asleep in her bed, her breathing a little ragged and her face pale. It looked like she'd already drunk the body-swapping powder. I'd switched for sleeping pills. And a lot of it, too. This was their last chance. My aunt, thinking the powder was losing its potency, must have used a generous dose. The supply was definitely unlimited today. Just then the door behind me creaked. My aunt was standing there silently. Maybe it was the light, but for a second, backlit as she was, she looked like a hideous demon. It was terrifying. She smiled at me. Jenna, don't worry about Mia. Come and eat. The way she was acting, I suspected the powder wasn't just in the milk but in all the food. I picked up my chopsticks, moved them around, but didn't dare take anything. I put them down and looked up at my aunt, my eyes full of emotion. Mom, you must have been so busy making all this. You worked too hard. My aunt gave me a fake smile. Silly girl. A mother will do anything for her child. It's never too much trouble. I stuck a straw in the boba and held it up to her lips. Mom, this is your favorite boba. Hot, with 30% sugar. I waited in line for ages. Have a sip before it gets cold. My aunt had no choice but to take a couple of sips. Delicious. My daughter is so sweet. I'm so touched, she said dismissively. Then she quickly put some food on my plate. You eat too. It's all your favorite. It'll get cold. I clutched my stomach, looking troubled. Actually, Mom, I just had a boba too. I'm a little full. I'll eat in a bit. My aunt's face twisted for a second, like she was about to explode. But she forced herself to be patient. Then at least have some soup. I've been simmering this chicken soup all morning. It's delicious. Just try a little. My aunt's expression sent a shiver down my spine. I had no choice. I slowly picked up the soup bowl and took a couple of small sips. My aunt finally relaxed. I don't know if she'd put the rest of the powder in the soup, but after just those 2 sips, I started to feel a little drowsy. I expertly feigned the groggy confusion of being possessed. My aunt's face lit up. She leaned in close. Mia? Mia, are you Mia? My heart skipped a beat. I looked up at her and slowly shook my head. I'm not Mia. I'm Jenna. My aunt's face darkened. She muttered. She must not have drunk enough. She grabbed the glass of milk and pushed it toward me. Sweetie, drink the milk. I stared at the boba in her hand and said groggily, if Mommy drinks her boba, I'll drink my milk. My aunt was so focused on getting me to drink the milk that she didn't think twice. She grabbed her boba and chugged half of it down. See? She said, relieved, shaking the empty cup at me. Mommy finished her drink. Now it's your turn to drink the milk. I nodded and brought the glass to my lips. Then, under my aunt's intense gaze, my hand slipped and the glass fell to the floor, spilling milk everywhere. My aunt was livid. She slammed the table and tried to stand up, but she stumbled back into her chair. She looked at herself, confused, as if she didn't understand what was happening. I saw her eyes start to glaze over, her expression becoming dazed. I knew the body-swapping powder was working. The time was right. I bit my tongue hard. I hadn't ingested much of the sleeping pills anyway, and the sharp pain snapped me fully awake. I leaned in and mimicked her from a moment ago. Sharon? Sharon, do you remember your name is Sharon? My aunt looked at me blankly. For a moment, she seemed to struggle, which sent a cold sweat down my back. If she suddenly snapped out of it, or if this method didn't work on her, I was finished. I had a backup plan. I told my dad to come pick me up soon, but who knew what a desperate, cornered Aunt Sharon would do if she found out I'd switched the powders. Thankfully, after a long moment, my aunt finally nodded. She said slowly, yes. My name is Sharon. I am the real Sharon. As she spoke those words, it was like a spell was broken. A sudden wind whipped through the room, obscuring everything. I heard my aunt let out a terrified scream. When the strange wind died down, there was a different person sitting across from me. I asked, my voice trembling, who are you? What's your name? The woman looked like she had just woken up, her expression still dazed. She said groggily, "Susan." "I'm Susan." I lunged across the table and hugged her, tears streaming down my face. "Mom, you're finally back." My shout seemed to fully wake her. She touched my face, just as emotional as I was. "Jenna? Is that you, Jenna? I can't believe how much you've grown." Tears were streaming down her face too. It turns out that all these years, even though she was in a coma, she could still see and hear everything. My aunt would occasionally visit, pretending to be a loving sister, but it was all just to gloat and show off. My mom knew my aunt was planning to hurt me, but she was powerless, trapped in her own body. She hugged me tight, laughing and crying at the same time, her voice thick with emotion. "My daughter is so amazing. I'm so proud of you." A lump formed in my throat, and I started sobbing uncontrollably. We held each other and cried for a long time. When the subject of my aunt came up, my mom's voice filled with hatred. We were sisters, but we were polar opposites. We grew up poor, and we both wanted to change our fate. I did it by studying hard and bettering myself. She tried to take shortcuts. The results were predictable. My mom graduated from a top university and married my dad, her college sweetheart. They had a stable relationship, successful careers, and a happy family. My aunt, on the other hand, was dumped by a rich kid. She stubbornly had his child Mia, but he had already gotten married and moved abroad. Her dream of marrying into wealth was shattered. By the time she looked back, she realized her poor older sister was living in a completely different world. They were sisters. Why should my mom be so happy and fulfilled while she was a pitiful single mother living off her sister's charity? That was when my aunt stumbled upon the body-swapping powder. And without a second thought, she stole her sister's life. Once you abandon your conscience, it's easy to lose it for good. When we grew up, she planned to use the same method to have her daughter steal my life. It's so easy to take what others have worked for, to take a shortcut. It's addictive. Maybe even fate couldn't stand it anymore. That's why it gave me a second chance to set things right. Just then my mom's phone rang. She answered it but didn't say a word, just listened for a long time. When she hung up, she looked stunned. She let out a long sigh. It was the hospital. They said that Sharon had just died of a heart attack. I held my mom, a complicated mix of feelings swirling inside me. I didn't know what to say. My mom murmured, "It's karma. It's all karma. You just can't do things that go against your conscience. What goes around comes around. No one escapes it." Suddenly, we heard the door open. It was my dad. He saw the feast on the table, and the tense look on his face softened. My mom's eyes welled up again. She hugged my dad and started apologizing. "Honey, it was all my fault. I shouldn't have listened to my sister's lies. I really thought you were fooling around behind my back. I was wrong. Please forgive me. Let's get back together." He wrapped one arm around my mom and waved his other hand magnanimously. It's no big deal. Since you admit you were wrong, I'm a big enough man to let it go. Besides, after our daughter leaves for college, we can have the house to ourselves for a bit." My lips twitched. Seeing my dad so easily placated and about to sit down and eat, I yelled, "Don't eat that. You can't eat the food." Before he could ask why, I remembered something. I slapped my forehead and rushed into Mia's room. "Mom, Dad, call an ambulance." Mia had overdosed on sleeping pills. After being rushed to the hospital, they managed to save her life, but she ended up in a permanent vegetative state. Talk about cosmic justice. Because Mia had failed her exams and because of all the other trouble she'd been in, everyone, including my dad, assumed it was a suicide attempt. He'd had his issues with Mia and my aunt before, but now that one was dead and the other was in a coma at such a young age, he didn't say anything more about it. My mom and I tacitly agreed to keep the truth about the body swapping from my dad. He's a bit of a worrier, and we were afraid the shock would be too much for him. Anyway, the body swapping powder was all gone, and I'd burned the bottle. We let it become our unspoken secret. The past was in the past. I was, as expected, the top scorer and got into my dream university. I was filled with anticipation, ready to start my new life. The end.